The particle beam tore through General Patricia Kane's shoulder before anyone could react. She stumbled backward, blood spreading across her dress uniform, as the diplomatic chamber erupted into chaos. The Jothic ambassador's weapon clattered to the marble floor, its barrel still glowing with residual heat. Commander Jake Morrison caught Patricia before she hit the ground, his hands pressing against the wound as medics rushed forward. Around them, human security forces raised their weapons while alien delegates scrambled for cover. The treaty signing, scheduled to renew 9 centuries of peace, dissolved into screaming pandemonium. "Stand down!" Patricia gasped through clenched teeth, her words cutting through the noise. "Nobody fires." But Jake saw what she couldn't. Through the tall windows of the council chamber, warships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Dozens of them. Hundreds. The distinctive crescent shapes of Jothic battlecruisers materialized against Earth's blue sky like a plague of locusts. "General, they planned this," Jake said quietly, helping her to her feet even as medics tried to force her down. This wasn't some rogue ambassador. Patricia's eyes tracked to the windows, taking in the armada that now surrounded humanity's homeworld. The Jothic ambassador was already backing toward his delegation, a translator device in his hand crackling to life. "The treaty is void," the translator announced in flat, emotionless tones. "Humanity's expansion into the outer reaches violated Section 9047, subsection 12. The Galactic Empire has voted. Your species will be reduced to your home system and contained." "We settled uninhabited worlds," Patricia shot back, pressing one hand against her bleeding shoulder while the other pointed accusingly at the ambassador. "There was nothing in those systems but rocks and ice. They were claimed by right of ancient survey. Your ignorance is not innocence." Jake felt his jaw tighten. 19 years. Humanity had spent 9 centuries playing by their rules, following every regulation, submitting to every inspection. They built a civilization across 200 star systems, always careful to avoid conflict, always diplomatic. And now, because of some obscure clause buried in a treaty longer than human recorded history, it was ending. "How many ships?" Patricia asked him quietly. "Scanning now. Preliminary count shows 800, maybe more jumping in." "And ours?" Jake's silence was answer enough. Humanity's fleet was scattered across their colonial territories. Here, defending Earth, they had perhaps 50 vessels. Most were science ships, transports, or older patrol craft. Against the Jothic war machine, they might as well be throwing stones. Patricia straightened despite the pain, her voice carrying across the chamber with the same authority that had earned her command of humanity's military forces. "Ambassador, you have made a catastrophic miscalculation. Yes, you can bombard Earth. Yes, you probably have the firepower to glass every human colony. But you have forgotten something important about my species." The Jothic ambassador's head tilted in what might have been curiosity or contempt. "And what is that, General?" "We have very, very long memories," Patricia said. "And we don't forgive people who shoot us during peace talks." The ambassador's translator emitted what sounded like laughter. "You threaten us? You are surrounded, outgunned. Your fleet is days away, scattered and weak. Surrender now, and perhaps your species will be permitted to exist under our supervision." Patricia looked at Jake, then at the other human officers in the room. Something passed between them. Something the aliens couldn't understand. It was, in their eyes, their posture, the set of their jaws. It was the look of a species that had clawed its way up from caves and conquered its own world through sheer stubbornness. "No," Patricia said simply. "No, I don't think we will." The particle beam strike had been meant to intimidate. Instead, it ignited something that had been sleeping in humanity's DNA for 900 years of enforced peace. The Jothi thought. They understood humans. They'd studied them, analyzed their culture, judged them soft from centuries of diplomacy. They were about to learn why humanity's ancient warriors had a saying: "You can have peace or you can have victory, but you rarely get both." The alert sirens began to wail across Earth as Patricia Kane gave the order that would reshape the galaxy. Activate Protocol Midnight. All human forces, all colonies, all citizens. The peace is over. Show them what we really are. What the Jothic didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that humanity had spent 900 years preparing for exactly this moment. They'd hoped it would never come, but they'd prepared anyway, because that's what humans do. The first Jothic battlecruiser died 3 minutes after Patricia gave the order. It happened so fast that most of the Galactic Empire's fleet didn't even register the threat until debris was spreading across Earth's orbital space. The cruiser simply folded inward on itself, crushed by gravitational forces that shouldn't exist outside a black hole's event horizon. Admiral Chen was watching from the lunar command station when it happened. The tactical display showed the enemy vessel's shields collapse, then its hull, then everything inside compressed into a sphere roughly the size of a basketball. The sphere hung in space for exactly 2 seconds before it exploded with the force of a small star going supernova. Gravity mine deployment successful, the weapons officer reported, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they'd just done. 743 more mines are now active in Earth's orbital grid. Chen nodded. The gravity mines had been humanity's secret project for 600 years, hidden in plain sight as asteroid mining equipment and deep space research stations. Each one could generate a localized gravity well strong enough to crack a moon, and they'd seeded Earth's entire orbital space with them during the last century, disguised as navigational buoys and communication satellites. How many ships in their fleet? Chen asked. Current count is 917. They're still jumping in. Good. Let them come. The Zothic were learning the first rule of fighting humanity. Never assume you know what weapons they have. The second battle cruiser that died went differently. This one was hit by what the Empire sensors initially registered as a simple kinetic projectile, probably fired from one of Earth's orbital defense platforms. They were right about the kinetic part. They were wrong about simple. The projectile was moving at 0.98 the speed of light when it punched through the battle cruiser's shields like they were tissue paper. At that velocity, an object the size of a marble carried more energy than a thermonuclear warhead. The projectile humanity fired was the size of a small car, and it was made of compressed neutronium wrapped in an electromagnetic containment field. The battle cruiser didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next there was a rapidly expanding cloud of superheated plasma, where a billion-credit warship used to be. Railgun Alpha is recharging, came the report from Earth's surface. Ready to fire again in 90 seconds. Admiral Chen allowed himself a tight smile. Humanity had 12 of those railguns hidden in deep underground bunkers, their barrels extending miles into the crust. Each one could throw projectiles at near light speed. Each one could kill a ship with a single shot. And the Zothic had no idea they existed. Target their command carrier, Chen ordered. The one broadcasting on the Imperial frequency. But the real surprise wasn't the gravity mines or the railguns. It wasn't even the fleet of warships that humanity had been building in secret, tucked away in the asteroid belts and ice fields where the Empire's inspectors never bothered to look. The real surprise was currently burning its way in system at velocities that should have torn any ship apart. Lieutenant Commander Nicole Brooks stood on the bridge of the Defiance, her knuckles white as she gripped the command chair. The ship was screaming, literally screaming. The hull was vibrating so hard from their acceleration that it created an audible whine throughout every compartment. Structural integrity at 40%, her engineering officer shouted over the noise. Captain, we need to slow down or we're going to shake ourselves apart. Negative, Nicole replied. All ships maintain acceleration. We need to hit them before they realize we're coming. Behind the Defiance, 47 other vessels were matching her burn. They were the Ghost Fleet, humanity's secret rapid response force. Each ship was built using technology humanity had reverse-engineered, stolen, or invented during 900 years of peace. Each one was crewed by volunteers who knew this might be a one-way trip. They'd been stationed in the Kuiper Belt, hidden among the comets and ice, waiting for a signal that every human prayed would never come. When Protocol Midnight activated, they'd immediately begun their burn toward Earth at accelerations that would kill most alien species. Humans, with their redundant organs and stubborn refusal to die easily, could survive it. Barely. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, Nicole's tactical officer announced. They're repositioning to engage the lunar station. Good. They're looking the wrong way. Nicole pulled up the tactical display, watching as the Zothic armada shifted like a great predatory beast turning toward new prey. They had no idea that death was approaching from behind at a significant fraction of light speed. Back on Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the ruins of what used to be called Geneva, Patricia Kane was being stitched up by a medical team while she watched the battle unfold on tactical displays. The wound in her shoulder throbbed, but she'd refused sedation. She needed to be conscious for this. General, we have confirmation from all colonies, her communications officer reported. Protocol Midnight is active across all human territories. Colonial defense forces are engaging Shatik occupation fleets. Casualties? Patricia asked. Heavy. The colonies weren't as prepared as Earth, but they're fighting. Patricia nodded. She'd known the outlying colonies would suffer. The Jothic had positioned fleets near every major human settlement, ready to strike the moment the treaty collapsed. But what the Empire hadn't counted on was how fiercely humanity would fight when cornered. The tactical display updated again. 3 more Jothic ships died to gravity mines. 2 were crippled by railgun strikes. And then the Ghost Fleet arrived. Nicole watched the range counter tick down to 0 and gave the order she'd been waiting 6 years to give. All ships, weapons free. Show these bastards what happens when you shoot a human general during a peace conference. The Defiance and her sister ships opened fire with everything they had. Missile pods that had been built into their hulls disgorged thousands of warheads. Particle beams that drew directly from the ship's fusion cores lanced out at the speed of light. And then there were the experimental weapons, the ones that humanity had been too afraid to even test until now. One Zahitic carrier was hit by what humans had codenamed a temporal displacement warhead. It didn't destroy the ship. It simply removed it from the current timeline and deposited it approximately 3 seconds into the past. The carrier collided with its own previous position, 2 identical ships trying to occupy the same space at the same time. The resulting paradox released enough energy to vaporize both versions of the ship and everything within 1,000 kilometers. Scratch 1 carrier, Nicole's weapons officer announced with grim satisfaction. Reloading temporal warheads now. The Zahitic fleet was in chaos. They'd expected an easy victory, a quick subjugation of an inferior species. Instead, they were being torn apart by weapons they didn't understand and tactics they couldn't predict. Human ships that should have been fleeing were charging straight into their formation. Weapons that violated known physics were reducing their vessels to atomic dust. And worst of all, the humans were broadcasting on all frequencies, making sure every ship in the Galactic Empire could hear what was happening. This is General Patricia Kane of Earth. Her voice rang out across every communication channel. To the Jothic Empire and all members of the Galactic Council, you have made a grave mistake. You thought 900 years of peace made us weak. You thought compliance meant we'd forgotten how to fight. You were wrong. A Zothic dreadnought, one of the most powerful vessels in their fleet, split in half as a railgun projectile punched through its reactor core. Humanity tried peace, Patricia continued. We followed your rules. We bent to your regulations. We accepted restrictions and limitations because we believed in a better way. But you shot me during a diplomatic meeting. You brought war to our home. And now you're going to learn why every predator on our planet learned to fear us. Admiral Chen watched from the lunar station as the battle turned into a massacre. The Jothic were trying to retreat now, their ships breaking formation and running for the edge of the system where they could jump to faster than light. But humanity had prepared for that too. Activate the inhibitor field, Chen ordered. Across Earth's solar system, a network of devices that the Jothic had believed were simple research stations came online. They generated a field that interfered with the exotic matter required for faster-than-light travel. It was technology humanity had stolen from a crashed alien probe 70 years ago, refined and weaponized in secret. The Jothic fleet was trapped. They couldn't run. All they could do was fight, and they were losing badly. General Kane, one of the Jothic commanders, broadcast, his translator conveying desperation even through its mechanical voice. We surrender. Please cease fire. We surrender. There was a long pause. Every human in the solar system waited to see what Patricia would say. The woman who'd been shot during a peace conference. The general who'd spent her entire career trying to avoid this exact scenario. No, she said finally. You wanted war? You're going to get all of it. The last Jothic ship in Earth's solar system died 47 minutes later, its reactor going critical as human Marines boarded and set scuttling charges. Not a single vessel escaped to carry word back to the Empire, but Patricia Kane made sure the message got out anyway. The message reached the Galactic Council chambers on Zenthari Prime exactly 14 hours after the last Jothic ship in Earth's solar system was destroyed. Council members from 47 different species watched in stunned silence as holographic displays showed the battle's highlights. The gravity mines, the relativistic railguns, the temporal weapons, the Ghost Fleet burning in from the outer system like vengeful angels. But what truly chilled the Council wasn't the weapons or the tactics. It was the final transmission that General Patricia Kane had broadcast on every frequency, aimed at every corner of the galaxy. This message is for the Galactic Empire and all who supported the violation of our peace treaty, Patricia's image said, the bandage on her shoulder visible beneath her uniform. You wanted to reduce humanity to our home system. You wanted to contain us. You forgot one crucial fact about my species. We are persistence hunters. We are the thing that follows you across continents until you collapse from exhaustion. We are the species that turned wolves into dogs and made the atom split because we were curious. You gave us 900 years to study your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses, and then you shot me during a diplomatic meeting. The hologram flickered to show footage of human shipyards, hidden in asteroid fields and planetary rings, pumping out warships at a terrifying rate. Shipyards the Empire's inspectors had somehow never found. Consider this your education in human nature, Patricia continued. We are coming. Not just to defend our colonies. We are coming for every Zothic world that supported this action. We are coming for every council member who voted to break the treaty. And we are coming for anyone who stands in our way. Ambassador Kelf of the Zenthari delegation, one of the council's senior members, rose from his seat. His species had lived for thousands of years in relative peace under the Empire's protection. This is madness. Humanity cannot win a war against the entire Galactic Empire. They have one solar system. We have thousands. The hologram changed to show a star map. Red dots appeared across the galaxy, dozens of them, then hundreds. These are human colonies you didn't know about. Patricia's voice explained. We've been seeding them for 3 centuries, hidden in nebulae and asteroid clusters, in systems you deemed worthless or too dangerous to survey. Each one has its own shipyards. Each one has been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come, but we prepared anyway. Another council member, this one from the aquatic Drell species, spoke up through its translation device. Even with hidden colonies, humanity is outnumbered 1,000 to 1. This is suicide. Perhaps, Patricia agreed. But here's the thing about humans. We're very good at making bad odds work in our favor. And we're even better at holding grudges. The hologram shifted to show the aftermath of the Earth battle. Debris fields where the Zothic fleet had been. Wreckage being collected and analyzed. We're studying every ship you sent to kill us, every weapon, every system, every piece of technology. And we're learning. We're always learning. That's what we do. We adapt. In a private chamber adjacent to the council hall, Colonel Ryan Mitchell was having a very different conversation. He'd been stationed on Zenthari Prime for 5 years as part of the Human Diplomatic Corps, supposedly coordinating trade agreements and cultural exchanges. In reality, he'd been running humanity's largest intelligence operation in the galaxy. All assets are activated, he said into his encrypted communicator. We have agents embedded in 23 council species governments, including positions in their military command structures. The voice on the other end belonged to Director Lisa Morgan, head of Human Strategic Intelligence. Rules of engagement? General Kane was clear. No civilian targets unless they're being used for military purposes, but military, government, and industrial targets are all valid. We're not trying to commit genocide. We're trying to break their will to fight. Understood. Begin operations. Ryan cut the connection and looked out at Zenthari Prime's glittering cityscape. Beautiful planet. Beautiful people. And in about 6 hours, their orbital shipyards were going to experience a series of unfortunate accidents that would cripple warship production for months. He felt a twinge of guilt. Then he remembered the footage of General Kane being shot during a peace conference, and the guilt evaporated. The Jatique had started this. Humanity was going to finish it. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human agents who'd spent decades building cover identities, making friends, integrating into alien societies, were all receiving the same message. Protocol Midnight. Every spy, every sleeper agent, every intelligence operative that humanity had planted during 900 years of peace was going active simultaneously. On the manufacturing world of Keltos 4, a human engineer named Paul Sanders had worked for 15 years in the Empire's primary ammunition factory. He'd been model employee, winning awards for efficiency and innovation. Nobody suspected that he'd spent those 15 years carefully mapping every weakness in the factory's safety systems. When the sabotage began, it looked like a tragic accident. A pressure valve failed. Coolant flooded into a reactor chamber. The resulting explosion destroyed 40% of the Empire's ammunition production capacity and would take years to rebuild. Paul was already on a transport off-world, heading for one of humanity's hidden colonies when the factory went up. He felt nothing but satisfaction. On the agricultural world of Prenth, Dr. Laura Kim had spent a decade working as a botanist, supposedly helping improve crop yields for the Empire's food supply. What she'd actually been doing was developing a fungal agent that targeted the specific grain the Empire used to feed its military. It wouldn't kill anyone, but it would make the grain inedible and impossible to store. The agent was already spreading through the Empire's strategic grain reserves. In 3 months, they'd have a serious food shortage for their military forces. On the military research station orbiting Dexor Prime, Commander Steve Chen had worked as a liaison officer for 7 years. His real job had been copying every piece of research data he could access and sending it back to Earth via encrypted quantum channels. Now he was uploading a virus into the research station's computer network. Nothing dramatic, just a small piece of code that would corrupt any new weapons research data by introducing random errors that would take months to identify. The Empire's weapons development would grind to a halt, and they wouldn't even know why. The sabotage was elegant, coordinated, and utterly devastating, and it was just the beginning. Back on Earth, Patricia Kane stood in the war room, surrounded by tactical displays showing the galaxy-wide operation unfolding. She was exhausted. Her shoulder throbbed despite the painkillers. But she couldn't rest. Not yet. "General, we're receiving reports from the colonies," an aide said. "The Zothic occupation fleets are being engaged. Casualties are heavy, but the colonists are fighting back. Send reinforcements to the colonies that need them most," Patricia ordered. "And prepare for the counterattack. The Empire won't take this lying down." Admiral Chen appeared on one of the displays, calling in from the lunar station. "General, our intelligence indicates the Empire is mobilizing their full battle fleet. We're talking about potentially 10,000 warships." "Let them come," Patricia said quietly. "We have something they don't." "What's that, General?" "We have a reason to fight. They're fighting to maintain an empire. We're fighting for our survival. There's a difference." She pulled up a star map showing human space, both the official colonies and the hidden ones. Red lines showed projected enemy movements. Blue lines showed human fleet deployments. It was a terrifying calculus, a gamble with the survival of the species as the stakes. 900 years, she said softly, almost to herself. "We spent 900 years building this civilization, raising families, creating art, advancing science. All of it under their rules, their restrictions, their watchful eyes. And they threw it away because of some legal technicality buried in a treaty longer than our recorded history." She touched her wounded shoulder, feeling the ache beneath the bandages. "They shot me during a peace conference. That's all anyone in the galaxy needs to know about who started this war, and they're going to learn what it means to give humanity a real enemy." The tactical display updated. Human ships were moving into position across the entire colonial sphere. Not just military vessels, but converted freighters, mining ships, even some civilian craft that had been hastily armed with whatever weapons could be mounted to their hulls. It wasn't enough to win a conventional war against the Empire, not even close. But humanity wasn't planning to fight a conventional war. "Activate Phase 2, Patricia ordered. Begin the long hunt." The long hunt. It was a plan that human strategists had developed over centuries, refined through countless simulations, and prayed they would never have to use. It was based on a simple premise. Humanity couldn't win a stand-up fight against the Galactic Empire. But they could make ruling the galaxy so expensive, so painful, and so exhausting that the Empire would eventually break. Human ships began moving into the vast empty spaces between stars, into nebulae and dust clouds, into regions of space that most species considered worthless. They would strike from the darkness, hit supply lines and isolated outposts, then vanish before reinforcements could arrive. They would make the Empire afraid of every shadow, every unexplored system, every quiet corner of space where a human warship might be hiding. They would become ghosts, myths, nightmares, and they would never, ever stop coming. Because that's what humans do. The Jothic home fleet arrived at their core world of Jakar to find it burning, not from orbital bombardment or nuclear fire, but from something far more insidious. Every industrial facility on the planet's surface was experiencing catastrophic systems failures. The fusion reactors were shutting down, manufacturing plants were grinding to a halt. The planetary defense grid was offline. Fleet Commander Kareth stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the impossible sight of his homeworld, crippled without a single human ship in the system. "How?" he demanded of his intelligence officer. "There are no human vessels within 50 light-years. Our sensors would have detected them." "Commander, we're receiving reports from across the Empire," the officer replied, his voice shaking. "This isn't just Zakar. 17 major worlds are experiencing similar failures. It's coordinated. It's sabotage." Kareth felt his blood chill. 17 worlds. That meant humans had infiltrated deep into the Empire's infrastructure. It meant they'd been planning this for years, maybe decades. It meant the war that the Council thought would be a quick subjugation was going to be a nightmare. Get repair teams to every affected facility. I want full security sweeps. Find the human agents and... His order was cut off by an alert from the tactical station. Commander, we have FTL signatures. Multiple contacts jumping in at the system's edge. Finally, Koreth growled. The humans are showing themselves. All ships, battle formation. Prepare to engage. But as the contacts resolved on his displays, Koreth realized his mistake. These weren't human warships jumping into the system. They were civilian transports, freighters, colony ships, hundreds of them, emerging from faster-than-light travel at the very edge of the Jacquard system. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, his communications officer announced. Koreth listened to the message, and his blood turned to ice. Attention, Jatique Defense Forces, a human voice said calmly. These vessels contain approximately 2 million human colonists, men, women, and children. We are unarmed. We are not here to fight. We are here to settle the disputed territories that our governments failed to resolve through diplomacy. They're insane, Koreth whispered. They're sending civilians into a war zone, the message continued. We know you could destroy these ships easily. We know you could kill everyone aboard, but we're betting you won't. Because the moment you fire on unarmed civilians, you prove to the entire galaxy who the real aggressors are. We're calling your bluff, Commander Koreth. We know you're listening. The galaxy is watching. What will you do? It was brilliant and terrible in equal measure. If Koreth fired on the civilian ships, he'd turn every neutral species in the galaxy against the Empire. The propaganda value alone would be devastating. But if he let them land, he'd be allowing a human foothold on the edge of Jatique space. Do not fire, Koreth ordered, hating every word. Let them pass, but track them. I want to know where every single ship goes. As the human colony fleet began its slow burn toward the outer planets of the system, Koreth realized he'd just lost the battle without firing a shot, and somewhere he knew human commanders were celebrating this victory. He was right. On Earth, General Patricia Kane was watching the operation unfold with grim satisfaction. The colonization gambit worked, her aide reported. Zokar fleet is standing down. The colonists are proceeding to settlement zones. Good, Patricia said. How many other colony fleets are ready to deploy? 43 more fleets, General, each one targeting a different disputed territory. If this keeps working, we'll have human settlements scattered throughout the Empire's territory within a month. It was psychological warfare at its finest. Every colony fleet forced the Empire to make a choice, commit genocide against civilians and lose all moral authority, or allow human expansion and lose territorial control. Either way, humanity won. But the colonization gambit was just one prong of humanity's strategy. The real war was happening in the dark spaces between stars, where human warships were hunting their prey. Captain Amanda Shaw commanded the stealth corvette Wraith, one of 50 such vessels that made up humanity's silent fleet. Her ship was little more than a missile bus wrapped in the most advanced stealth technology humanity could produce. On sensors, the Wraith looked like a piece of space debris, if it showed up at all. Contact bearing 200 Mark 15, her sensor officer whispered, as if speaking too loud might give them away. Zatik supply convoy. 3 freighters, 2 destroyer escorts. Solution plotted. Her weapons officer confirmed. We can take them. Amanda studied the tactical display. The supply convoy was carrying ammunition and repair parts to a Jatek forward operating base. Destroying it would cripple their operations in this sector for weeks. But the escorts would get off a distress call before they died, and reinforcements would arrive within hours. Negative, she decided. We let them pass. Set a drone to track them. I want to know where that base is. Her crew looked disappointed, but they followed orders. The Wraith drifted silently as the enemy convoy passed less than 50,000 kilometers away, completely unaware that death had just chosen to spare them. 3 days later, the Wraith and 2 sister ships attacked the forward operating base itself. They hit at the shift change when crews were tired and distracted. Missile pods deployed, warheads streaked through space, and the base's ammunition depot went up like a miniature supernova. By the time reinforcements arrived, the silent fleet was gone, banished into the black like they'd never been there at all. This pattern repeated across the galaxy. Human ships striking from nowhere, hitting targets the Empire thought were secure, then disappearing before retaliation could arrive. Supply lines were severed. Communication relays were destroyed. Isolated outposts simply vanished, their garrisons never heard from again. The Empire tried to adapt, they increased patrols, they added more escorts to their convoys, they installed better sensors on their facilities. But humanity adapted faster. They found the gaps in the patrol routes. They spoofed the sensors. They turned the Empire's own size against it, making the vastness of space their greatest ally. On the council chambers of Zenthari Prime, the political situation was deteriorating rapidly. Ambassador Kelth stood before the assembled delegates, trying to maintain order as species after species demanded answers. The Zothig promised a quick victory, the representative from the Drell aquatic worlds hissed through their translator. Instead, we have a spreading war that threatens to engulf the entire galaxy. Our shipping lanes are under attack. Our economies are suffering. When does this end? The Empire is mobilizing additional forces, Kelth replied, though even he sounded uncertain. The human insurgency will be crushed. Insurgency? The Vex representative, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field, pulsed with what might have been laughter. They have fleets, they have colonies, they have technology we didn't know they possessed. This isn't an insurgency, Ambassador. This is a pure conflict. And we're losing. Kelth wanted to argue, but the evidence was impossible to deny. In the 3 weeks since the peace treaty collapsed, humanity had gone from a restricted species confined to a few hundred systems to an active threat across the entire galactic arm. Their ships were everywhere and nowhere. Their agents had turned the Empire's own infrastructure into a weapon against itself. And worst of all, they showed no signs of stopping. We should negotiate, the Drell representative suggested. Offer them reparations for breaking the treaty. Restore their territorial rights. End this before it escalates further. The Empire does not negotiate with terrorists, the Zotik delegate declared. Then the Empire is going to bleed, a new voice said. Every eye in the chamber turned to the entrance, where a human woman in diplomatic attire stood calmly despite the fact that her species was supposed to be banned from the council chambers. She was young, perhaps 30, with dark hair and eyes that held absolutely no fear. My name is Ambassador Karen Foster, she announced, walking down the central aisle as security forces scrambled to intercept her. I represent the Terran Colonial Alliance, and I have a message from General Patricia Kane. Seize her, the Zahothic delegate shouted. But Kelth raised a hand, stopping the guards. Let her speak. I want to hear what humanity has to say. Karen reached the central podium and activated a holographic display. It showed a real-time feed of human military operations across the galaxy. Ships, colonies, battles, sabotage. The scope was staggering. You thought we were weak, Karen said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. You thought 900 years of peace made us forget how to fight? You were wrong. This is what humanity does. We adapt, we survive, we win. And we never, ever forgive those who wrong us. The hologram shifted to show casualty figures. Jahothic military losses were catastrophic. Supply chain disruptions were crippling their economy. Civilian morale on their core worlds was collapsing. General Kane offers you one chance to end this, Karen continued. Full restoration of humanity's territorial rights. Reparations for the attack on Earth, and the individuals responsible for shooting the general during a diplomatic meeting turned over to face justice. Accept these terms, and we stop the bleeding. Refuse, and we take this war to every corner of the galaxy until your empire is ash and memory. This is unacceptable, the Zothic delegate sputtered. The Empire will never. The Empire is already dying, Karen interrupted. You just haven't realized it yet. Check your fleet deployments. Check your resource reserves. Check your economic projections. You're fighting a war across 10,000 systems against an enemy that can strike anywhere and vanish before you can respond. How long do you think you can sustain that? She closed the holographic display and looked directly at Kelth. Ambassador, I know you're a reasonable being. I've read your speeches about peaceful coexistence. I know you voted against breaking the treaty. So I'm appealing to you, not as an enemy, but as someone who wants the killing to stop. Kelth met her gaze, seeing the exhaustion there, the weight of countless deaths on both sides. What guarantee do we have that humanity will honor a new treaty? The same guarantee you had before, Karen replied quietly. Our word. We kept it for 19 years. You broke it first. But we're willing to try again, if you are. The chamber erupted into debate. Some species called for Karen's arrest. Others demanded immediate negotiations. A few suggested that perhaps, just perhaps, humanity had a point. While the council argued, Kelf made a decision that would change the course of history. He activated his personal communicator and sent a message directly to General Patricia Kane. Let's talk. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station.